In this video, we're going to take you through the candidate experience of applying for a job. We're going to apply for the job or the vacancy that we created previously. This was the vacancy that we created using our published pipeline, and you will recall we introduced you to the concepts of talent pooling and interested candidates. So a candidate, in this case, we've come to the home page and we want to view the job, so we can open up more and we can view details about the job. As a candidate, I might not apply for the job. This might be an example where I identify my interest in the job. So now that's so that whenever a new business development consultant role comes up as a new vacancy, I'll be identified because I've added that I am interested in that particular position. So for now though, as a candidate, I look at my job, I can see the details of the job description. This is the company details with a video of the company. And of course I could have had a video down here if I'd attached the video link when I created the vacancy for my business development consultant. So as a candidate, I look at this and I press apply. I don't have an account, so I sign up. And then I am presented with the option to either upload my CV and have the system build my profile automatically, or as a candidate I can build my profile manually. It's a good idea to enable them to parse the CV because we want to make the candidate experience as simple and as least onerous as possible. So the candidate grabs their CV and they parse the CV. The CV parsing process is looking at that document and generating from that document all the information that it can to build that personal profile for that candidate. Now the candidate is then asked if they want to provide a cover letter or a CV for their application. And the reason we're asked that is of course because when we created the vacancy for the consultant, we stated that the candidates would be expected to provide a CV and a cover letter. Hence they are requested to do so here. We provide this information because clearly the candidate may need to prepare their CV or may want to take some time to provide their cover letter and come back. But let's assume for the moment that they are ready to proceed. So here is the cover letter and they can type in here. Be great if I was a good typer. And then you notice too that I've got my resume already ready to be uploaded because of course the system grabbed that when we parsed it initially. So now the candidate sends the cover letter, sends the resume and is applying for the job. And immediately the candidate is presented with the registration form that was attached to the applied stage of the published pipeline. It was exactly the same as our onboarding one, but it could have been different. Here we go through the very questions that we generated in our previous videos when we actually went through creating our assessments, the candidate registration assessment. So candidate continues and they respond as this. If it was on a mobile phone, it presents perfectly on a mobile phone, resizes accordingly. You'll recall we had, an object response type for the passport. Hence, because we said it was an object response type and a passport, that's why we get the form now representing the passport detail. So depending on the response type that you selected for your object, the form is displayed dynamically to be consistent with the data required to be captured for that type of object, i.e. passport. Date of birth, object, therefore we get the date of birth, date effective form to be able to enter the detail. We had the object response type of license, hence we're now provided with an add license, and again it forms itself based on the type of object that we associated with the question when we created it the first time. Another example, the certificates. Now you can control what options turn up in these lookups. You can constrain them, but there's nothing stopping a candidate typing in now a certificate that we haven't maintained in our system. We catch it but it's not one, because it's an ad hoc one that is added by the candidate, it is not one that we use in our search criteria or our job vacancy definition. Remember when we said for this vacancy in the previous video, we said that we were expecting somebody to have a business degree qualification, a bachelor's degree in business. That is a measurement that we've defined and we want to catch and score against or match against. That's what we mean by your particularly defined certificates, measurements, or licenses. But that doesn't mean that somebody can't add one that you don't have in your system, so we're not restricting them to entering all of their certificates. So we'll save and next. You can see here that these are the skills that it managed to extract from the CV, so we don't need to re-enter them. Here we were asking for their employment history. You'll recall that was an object response type when we created the question, and again this data has been automatically scanned in from the CV. Here we're asking how long have they worked for the current employer, and you might recall, so we've managed to return the reference from the CV as well, but there's some information that's missing on this reference, so we need to enter that. Not until all mandatory fields are maintained will you be in a position to be able to move to the next question. Now finally, I'm being asked to send a code to my mobile, to my email or mobile phone. So I'll go here and I'll say, please send this code to my email address. Now what that means is that I have now an email. If we just pull this up here. You can see here I received this email with my code 8413. So I type in 8413. So this is the concept of multi-factor authentication. So from a system perspective, the candidate is in here because they've logged on and created their profile, and they've used their username and password, or they've come in from a link from the email. But we're asking them now to also have a code sent to their email, which they must have had authentication to, or their phone. So it's a way of double checking that this is indeed the candidate filling out this registration form. So now the candidate completes this as done. Now what this means is that the candidate is now applied. Okay, so thank you, and they have finished the process of the registration form. And the candidate has actually now got their own personal profile. So they can actually view jobs, the status of their jobs. They can come in here and they can view their notifications. This is their personal portal. They can view their details in here through their personal portal, so they can see here that where they're currently at. Currently they are in the applied stage. They can withdraw from this position, this vacancy, whenever they wish. So now if I go back now and change, log out and log back in now as the system administrator of the Squirrel Talent platform. So here we can see up here, we could see notifications. Haven't got any. We can come into the jobs and we can view our various jobs, and we can also view the pipeline. So here we can see we've got 2 in the applied stage, 30 interested, and if I open that up, I will see our new candidate that we just registered, who went through his application, his registration form. We'll see them in the pipeline. Now, if you recall, we specified on our candidate registration form that the recruitment consultant will be required to review this pipeline, this registration. Hence, it is now sitting in orange. So we can see that it's in orange because it's been completed by the candidate. Interestingly enough, we have a flagged response here. So you will recall when we created questions in our candidate registration form, we said that we wanted to flag if a candidate said they had an allergy or had failed a drug test. So I can open this up, and the reason I need to do that is because the candidate will not be able to move. You'll be able to manually move them, but if there's a stage that requires an automated move, automated moves don't happen while a candidate has a flagged response. So you can pick, I can pick this time now, and I can say, I can have a look at their question. Do you have it? Yes, I do. And then we could have asked them, well, detail it, and I can acknowledge it. So we can acknowledge this. So it's acknowledged. That means it's no longer in a red status, so we can move them on. But the candidate sits in orange status because we're now waiting for somebody in the business to act on this Clinton Jones candidate, and to do so we'll mirror and we'll now operate the system as though we are the recruitment consultant. So let me just check. Business Development Consultant Head Office. That's not the consultant that we want. I think Amanda Loeb is in the position that we want. Recruitment consultant. So what I will do now is I will close. I will mirror Amanda because Amanda is the one that has received the task to complete. I have Amanda's task here. I'll open it up. See here, a new candidate has been completed, ready for your review. Amanda now is opening up the form that was completed. You might recall previously we talked about the different views. This way here, as a reviewer, I like to switch my assessment. Instead of looking at it question by question, I like to set it up like this. So I can now see the skills, I can see the work experience, I can see what they've entered, the referee, view the peanuts, physical, and I can decide what stage I now want that candidate to go through. So we select that we now want them to go to the phone screen, we save and complete that, and the process continues. So there in this video we've explained, we've shown you how a candidate will apply for a job, a published job, and they'll be taken into the process. And we've also taken you through that candidate applying, parsing their CV, and then completing the registration form that was generated dynamically for them. Hopefully this now has shown you the difference between a published job and a non-published job, and how you can have either the same processes or different processes depending on whether it is a published job or not. Thank you very much.